Now you can open up the work session.
Matt.
Take roll again, didn't we?
No, I don't think we do. Me?
Yeah.
All right, let's move into item.
Give me a hug.
Let's get going because we got 25 minutes.
So, since we have members of the public, I'm gonna try and see if I can get this thing on here, but everybody should have it on their tablets.
When you reach that to turn it on.
I don't know. This button looks like a power button.
Hey Leslie, is there any chargers?
You have the only other charger. Do you have a charger for
Tablet?
the tablet?
Oh, I do.
Oh, is there a
Those things take so long to
I
charge.
had it in all day. It's
It's
been like 40%.
Yeah, it'll last it.
Oh, it's on. It's a remote
It's
control.
already down to 35.
It's,
Oh, it's on.
You must have called. I guess it was supposed to be a call.
I just hit 2 on it. Okay. That's the question. Okay. Oh, so it says no source. Is that supposed to say that?
it's council packet, work session.
Oh, maybe I have to switch
So you know people who are in there.
sources. Right.
I do.
Two people running. So.
Yeah, right. And press that little,
Menu?
Question mark.
press the question mark.
I'm a little worried about her.
Yeah.
And then?
Nick, he'll.
Nick.
That's
Question mark.
right.
Nick's
Do you have a
good.
Dell? What do you have on the?
He's
Like,
seems
Oh.
really laid back.
Yeah.
You can
Nick
would be good.
I have
He's been coming, which is good.
HP.
Yeah, I was gonna call him.
HP,
Come
so-
tonight. Damn.
He's been
Is
And
he
what's
on
that
rec?
for?
Is he on rec?
the Parks and Rec.
Yeah.
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 So.
I don't have that.
Usually it's just like this scanner. Trying to remember what.
Try something along the top. That question mark's like way down.
If it gets that far. It's already on the edges it is.
That might be the only reason why I stayed on.
Fight a good fight.
Yeah.
Just when you thought we were past
Depending
the
on
old
whoever.
mentality.
Yes. That's what I'm scared of.
Never goes away.
Nope.
I know. Is it helpful or not helpful?
Oh, wait.
Hey.
Oh, there you go.
You weren't connected.
Oh.
Which way?
Okay, there's a message to Nick to show up and we get Jody.
Yeah, we probably ought to wait until they open up a street. We shouldn't tear up
There's
everything.
your screen. Do you want to?
That's where they're diverting all the traffic around, so we probably ought
I
to.
don't know. I didn't ask.
Wait.
That's true. That's true.
Not too bad, the kids are out playing or during, in the rain.
Oh, well, they were like running around, I guess that. Yeah.
Okay, Redmond get booted up. So has everybody reviewed at all?
Did we have okay?
Can't say I necessarily 100% understood it, but that's about where I'm at.
It came from our.
Okay, texted Jody and
Why did that happen?
We know we talked about it.
so what we have is a series of our projects, correct? With a budget,
Yes.
Who's starting the meeting?
All right.
Are you starting the meeting?
yeah. We have to do roll.
We're in a work
You already
session.
done roll call?
We did for the
And you came out?
we did it
Yeah, we're
for
in a new meeting.
the closed session.
Yeah, we should do roll call for the meeting.
Okay, roll call, please.
for a work session or for?
Yeah, work
For the
session.
work session. Mayor Laughlin,
Here.
Councilperson Ellison,
Here.
Miller,
Here.
Pierce,
Here.
Shields,
Here.
Stevenson.
So we're going to talk about CIP projects and the bridge, Cubby Park, how much we may want to have to borrow.
Okay, I think I'm a little bit ready. I thought I was gonna have this fancy dancy remote control, but it doesn't seem like it's working. So I will have to click it old school. All right, so, no, if it works. Not that. All right, so here. All right. So I thought out of some of our discussion that I would just have a little section just talking about bonds, because I think we've got a lot of terms going on, and frankly, there's a lot of different types of bonds, and state laws seem to have effects over those bonds on what you can use them for and all that. I'm just trying to cover. I'm not going through all that. I just want to cover just the kind of the basics. And it doesn't get no more basic than the IOU. I think we all recall the IOU. Back in the day, you used to write it on paper, sometimes even your hand and whatever. And you give me something, I owe you something back, and that was the plan. It's like, oh, let's see.
I think this one's tight. I think it's that one that on the machine is not tight.
I don't think I touched it. We can do it. But essentially, you know, a bond is a finance mechanism. So we borrow money. We pay professionals typically to take it to the marketplace for us because, you know, they have all their rules and regs, and these folks are professionals on how to basically give an offering that investors then take their turns of evaluating it and seeing if that's something they want to put their money on. And then the money gets back to us and we actually use it for our projects. So that's the typical thing. Now there's a lot of different types of bonds, and we'll hear about those particularly with Covey Park because it involves several different finance mechanisms within that one project. Things like tax-exempt bonds, which are typically for specific public purposes. You have private activity bonds. A lot of times those have some type of private ownership for a public purpose. So you might have a utility that's privately owned, but it has a public purpose. There's then taxable bonds. They're for private purposes. Maybe a private entity in your town wants to enhance or do some development, and you want to encourage that, and you partnership with them. So, you know, but it's for a private purpose. General obligation bonds is where we're going to be focusing our conversation on tonight, and that's going to require the city to put its full faith and credit on the line to secure as a security as a bond. Now, bonds typically reflect your tax liability and your security. How you're going to secure it is usually through your tax dollars or some revenue generated that's typically tax dollars for entities like us, but you can have utilities that is going to be paid by ratepayers and those kind of things. So those tend to be like revenue bonds. So when we are talking and we have these capital projects coming up, and then everybody was like, oh, but what about the wastewater? Well, those are revenue generating bonds. They come from a specific revenue source, not to be confused with the general obligation bonds, because they're two different buyers that they're appealing to and where those funds are being raised for. And then you have some bonds that are basically collateralized by the public asset or some type of asset-backed bond. So the facility itself, value from that will underwrite that particular bond that you're going out. So there's a lot of different ways that the structure of the bond can be set up. That's the reason why we bring in those high-priced lawyers to set that up for us, because they know all the ins and outs and the latest and greatest, how to set those up. So I think the one thing I guess I'll at least share with the group, since our visuals seem to still be out, is there's some good things going on. I mean, I know we got a big package here, and maybe the biggest that council has seen in a while, if at all. But up to this point, there's been a lot of good things and good steps being made because West Branch, as a city, is one of the most livable communities in the state of Iowa. Frankly, out of 947 incorporated communities in the state of Iowa, West Branch ranks 34th. So you're doing something right. There is something going on. So even though we're tightening the belt and we're taking the plunge here, and this is going to be something that we're really going to have to do, and I'm going to talk about why we're going to have to do it on the next slide. But I want to say that you're also doing that at very good efficiency with tax dollars, because out of the top-ranked communities at populations our size, we're right in the middle of the lowest tax rate. And if we use just strictly population size only, we're actually number one in communities 2,000 to 3,000 in having the lowest tax rate. So we're doing things really smart, and I think to continue that is to go about this bonding process in a smart way. So the next slide, if you was to see, it basically has all of our projects, and we had talked about them before. These are the projects that had been previously identified. Some of them have already been completed, where the city has borrowed against other funds to get those projects completed, get those projects either engineered and started, or there's some, I think almost all of them now have at least been engineered. Well, maybe not College Street Bridge. I don't know how much the engineering's been done, but we know it's coming, and we're starting the planning process. So these are pretty much set in stone projects at this point. So if we go through the REAP grant, that's the West Branch Village project that has been lingering out there. We do have grant dollars for that at $75,000. We have some basic startup engineering on that, and we're waiting for DNR to come forth and give us the okay to actually move forward with construction. That's all we know. We don't really know if that project is going to be able to be completed with those dollars. Maybe if it runs a little over, maybe we might have to get some contractor to come in and help. There's so many questions there we don't really know. I haven't tacked on anything as far as how much it may cost additional to the $75,000 that we have a grant for. But if you were to just give a 20% contingency, that would be like an additional $20,000 or so. So it's potentially that there could be some cost with that project. I think the West Main Street stormwater improvement project, we don't have any scheduled expenditures on that. The 4th Street, we're in the process of that project. That's at $116,000 and some change.
So we're in the hole on that right now.
Right. And Cubby Park, again, we had gotten the estimates from Nate, and that's at basically $3 million. And then our Phase 1 park improvement got $15,000 on that. Now the College Street Bridge and park improvements, Veronic, thank you. Veronic Park parking improvements, we kind of said we didn't want to do that right now, so that could yield us around $25,000 because we could use that somewhere else. So when you come down, you'll see that we're a little bit over 4.2, our recommended over, when you add all the projects up. Well, we're hoping to be able to maybe move those funds around, help that number if it needs to be helped. Maybe we can also have some relief if the West Branch Village pedestrian bridge goes over. There's a little relief there. The downtown East redevelopment, that's the property that the city purchased. I think the goal should be that we consider, once that project takes off, that we look to recoup the money that we invest in that so that we can then reuse it for more economic development activities. Because as we go through our budget process, I don't think we're going to have a lot of room to do a lot of economic development activity. But if we had maybe, roughly, we got about $150,000 in that pot now, with another 200 that would come back to us once a developer comes on and repays us for what we invested on the land. That could give us around a $350,000 pool for economic development activity to keep that process going. So that's something to consider. North First Street improvements, we've been seeing those come in. That's $370,000 roughly, and that's going to be repaying ourselves in a lot of other areas that we took away from the fund. So we kind of need that to avoid any operational problems, because we've gotten to the point where we've robbed and Peter to pay Paul, and Paul is wanting to get paid now. So we got to do those kind of things. So the College Street is actually in two areas. That's $750,000. That's what we're expecting based on previous budget project estimations. So we think that's a good number, but we're not fully sure on where exactly we're going to fall in there. So having the park project, Cubby Park, coming in at the full number, but we know we have some value engineering options in that number. That will allow us to adjust to the facts in the field, if you will. If, say, College Street Bridge comes in, something starts coming in high on those, or we get some change orders those, then we can go back and revisit our options on our value engineering options on our park to make up the difference on those fees. So staff's recommending the 4.2, understanding that that's $49,000 less than if you just took the raw numbers and added up the projects. But with the savings you think we're going to get from Baranek parking improvement project that we don't want to do, that will help that number, and then staying on top of the other construction parts of the project that we believe will be okay to meet the need. And if we don't, then it's only a $50,000 or $25,000 hit versus having to go back out to the market. $25,000 would only cover a couple hours for a guy like Kevin here, and then we would have to
check my payroll here.
Yeah, but no,
extra zero somewhere.
But we would have to pay for professional expenses again, go back out to the market where the interest rate probably is not going to be favorable as it is now, and the projects wind up costing us more money. So we don't really want to do that. We want to make this the one bite at the apple for at least the next 12 months, and we think we can make it work at the 4.2. That's our thoughts. So going on the other side to this, and why we didn't just do everything at 100%, is debt capacity. So right now, if we were to go with the 4.2 option, that would put us at 85% of our debt capacity. I should let you know that most financial managers don't want to go over 80%, because then they get nervous if there's an emergency that happens and things that are unforeseen happens. You don't want to be on the north side of that. But we believe that it would be a short period of time, meaning short period being 2 years, We believe we'll be underneath that, and know we have a $90,000 that we expect to come off of that next year, and just a year after that, we believe we'll be under 80. So the exposure, if you will, that 5% exposure, we believe is a short term, and with the cost of the projects being that they are now, we think it makes sense to go for it and go for the 4.2. But I want you to know that's where we are. We don't want to be doing a lot of more tiffing or anything else until we kind of get that back under 80%. Now, there is another opportunity for doing a negotiated bond approach. Maggie has shared with us that there are investor groups that they are worked with and know, and will allow them to save on some of those professional fees if they didn't have to go through a whole public offering. That also, as a part of the public offering, you know, there's a bond rating review aspect, and usually they take the city administrator, manager, and ask them a bunch of questions. Well, since I'm kind of new to the organization, it may be easier to have a negotiated bond so that there's no loss of confidence. For example, if some questions come in about details of Covey Park and it hasn't even been bidded yet, and if I don't have a good straight answer for them, that they might get a little, you know, more nervous or whatever. So it's a little sometimes easier to go the negotiated bond rate. This approach also would say was $11,000, so that might be something that we also give Maggie to go ahead to look into. Questions?
The downtown east, why would we need to borrow 10,000 when we have a pool of 175-ish already budgeted?
Well, we actually only have 165,000.
Okay, we don't even know what
That might, I guess I should say that 10,000 might not be eligible for this bond issuance because it's a different type of bond. So I'm thinking probably that can be eliminated.
I think so too.
To this.
So that's $10,500.
Yeah.
That could help.
Yeah, so we have
with our-
165,000 really for downtown East redevelopment.
We don't even have that earmarked for anything really. Whatever it needs, it's maybe some cleanup, maybe some demolition. I'm hoping the developer might want to do that.
Well, and that's
Some studies, some phase one study, which we're applying for a grant for.
that's another reason why we got that 50,000 play in there. So that 10,000 can help with the 25,000. So now, you know, that potential gap is
Right.
even less.
I agree with the 24,000 for Bronick Park parking lot. Let's save that and use it somewhere else if we have to. All right. Anything else?
So staff recommending I mean, do you guys want, should we go with the negotiated bond or the?
Yeah, I think the negotiating bond
No,
provides us with a good
Does that
approach.
change our debt capacity at all if we go that route? It
No,
stays exact-
no, it's
stays
still
the-
the same.
still
Just
stays-
helps us with some of the professional fees.
All right.
Is that debt capacity based on the latest assessed values
Yes,
of last year,
yes,
correct?
yes.
And we all got our little card in the mail,
I was gonna
right?
say, that ought to change pretty good based on what mine's
Right.
going up there.
So that 85%
Could be affected
exist.
by some of that.
Yeah.
I wouldn't take it down too much though.
Okay.
Yeah.
So by doing this, though, this also handcuffs us as far as using TIF dollars as well, right?
For 2 years.
So if we do this, we basically cannot.
Yeah.
TIF anything.
We were calculating how much room on that. We will have some, but I would say whatever project presents itself, it better look good. It better be real strong because we don't have a lot of a lot of
Pay
work.
off fast.
Strong in terms of revenue, back to the city? Or
Benefits, I'm just gonna say
Keep
overall benefits, it needs to help and serve the city, and there's certain things that I've been looking at with the TIF that would strong our agreements up. I think we've been talking about having payments put into an escrow so that if jobs don't come in a certain way or some of the other agreements that we make with the companies don't happen in the way they can, then, you know, we can retain some of that money, and that would be part of the agreement. We've talked about shortening up the terms. You know, a lot of times in the business world, you want to have a rate of return in 5 years, if not sooner. Going out 15 and 20, you know, I don't think that meets the current, you know, needs. So we're looking at, you know, having things that's a little shorter term. And then obviously being very comfortable that whatever project's coming in is producing what the city is looking for, if it's jobs or some other economic activity. I constantly have been talking with ICAD that jobs may not be the driving factor for us. Being so close to Iowa City, outside of the gas revenues, which I think we will be strong in retaining a lot of, we're not getting any of the sales from clothing sales, food sales, those kind of things. We're too close to 80, with 80 you can shoot back and forth, eat lunch and come back. You know, it makes it hard. There's a lot of leakage. So there's some concepts we've been talking with ICAD about having some type of revenue sharing agreement with other surrounding communities, because obviously these economic projects help everyone, but why should West Branch be taking a hit on their general fund? Because ultimately these are dollars that would be reflecting our general
Johnson
fund.
County would share some revenue with,
Well, I don't know. It's
I
conceptual talk, but I think the discussions at least are where they need to be so that we can have responsible, you know,
Coralville's very
talk.
healthy.
You think so, huh?
Maybe not.
Coralville
Wait till we get the arena going. No, the debt service levy will be above 80.
So there's those kind of things, but we just need to, you know, be real smart with our TIF. I don't want to say we can't TIF anything. I just say we just need to be very confident and very prudent on how we use it in the next 2 years.
Okay. Is that all we need to know?
So we're gonna have to make a decision on this today.
Yep, you'll have an item that's going
It's coming
to,
up at the meeting.
Yep.
And we get options 1, 2, 3, 4, C, B, whatever.
I mean, if you want to, you can come up with a whole brand new number if you want it, but I think we've gotten comfortable with the idea that we can make 4-2 work.
You and Gordon have worked.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So you guys are
On
on
this.
consensus of what?
Well, I would hope that's the maximum we go to.
Yeah, oh yeah, but you guys are in agreement of what we can handle, what you think.
Well,
Mom,
that-
And Maggie.
we
And
think,
Maggie,
and
Yeah.
Maggie,
I'm
okay,
relying on Maggie too.
okay.
Okay. I'm ready to move into the meeting.
Alright.
It's getting late. I need a motion to exit this work session then, please. Colton,
I'll second. Or-
Tim Shields will second. Can I do a voice vote?
You can.
All those in favor of exiting the work session, say aye.
Aye.
Work session ended. Does anybody need to get a drink before we go on, or we're going?
Does anybody need this right? They're gonna speak.
Yeah.
If someone's here to speak, little form to fill out
Anybody?
during the open session. So
Yeah.
7:05. Got Corey coming up. Got one.
I told my wife the other day, she was wait.
Yeah.
I said, it's Corey. He goes,
Put it off another week.
I don't know anybody named Corey. I know somebody named John. I'm like, oh, I think that's his name, actually.
Yeah, thank you.
That's why it matters.
Okay, at 7:04, we're going to start the regular meeting of October 16th. Pledge of allegiance, please. pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I know, I might have to be back.
All right, roll call, please.
Mayor Laughlin.
Here.
Councilperson Ellison.
Here.
Miller.
Here.
Pierce.
Here.
Shields.
Here.
Stevenson. Here.
Okay, we have someone who has worked with the city for 10 years, and we're going to recognize Corey Hanna. Sergeant Hanna. Correct?
Yeah.
Where's the camera? So Sergeant Hanna's been with us for 10 years. I'm glad he stuck around and stayed with us. I hope it gets you for 10 more.
Thank you, sir.
So thank you very much for your service.
Not a problem. Pleasure's mine.
Thank you.
As customary with these things, Chief, did you want to share a couple words about the Corey service?
Sergeant Hanna's been with our department for 10 years. I've been here for 6. During the time I've been here, he's been a real pleasure to work for. You couldn't ask for a more honest, dedicated employee for the City West Branch. I'm very proud to have him on the department. He's a very capable individual and can handle any situation with finesse. So it's been a real pleasure to work with him, and I'm very, very fortunate to have him work for the city.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We are too. Item E, public comment. This is where anyone can, if you want to say something to us, we'll listen to you. We want to hear what you have to say. We can't take any action, but we want to hear what you have to say. So, Mike Morrow, 110 Northridge Drive.
Correct.
Thank you.
I just want to comment on the Northridge Drive parking. I've been a resident for over 20 years. I always wondered why there was no parking on that street until I had to go up that hill sideways a couple times when it was really snow.
Yeah.
A lot of snow and ice out there. I really don't think the street is really wide enough to allow that parking in there for everybody to get through safely, especially when there's snow and ice on the ground, or if someone comes out to the car, there's 2 cars coming down the street. The only businesses I've seen on that north side of Northridge Drive has been either rental units or contractors storing their equipment there. But this is the first time that we've ever had what I call a commercial business with customer clientele running in and out of the neighborhood. And when they were parked on the street, it was unsafe, even though it was no parking. You know, they were still running around. It was just tough to get through. And since the police came in there and alleviated that problem, it's been a lot better since. So I thank the police department for that, obviously. I've talked to some other residents in Northridge Drive, and they really don't feel that that parking is going to benefit them because the parking is clear up on the north side and their houses are mainly on the south end. I mean, if that gym wants parking, they knew they were having a parking issue before they even moved in. So I think they should alleviate their own problem and not burden the city with the expense of new signs and have to replow the drive on the street from 4th Street now. So I think that's just about it, really, that I have to say. So I just, consider the safety of the residents on Northridge Drive.
So you're against the parking?
I'm against the parking.
All right. Any comments? Okay. Thanks for coming, saying your thing. Anyone else? Okay. Yeah.
I didn't get mine turned in.
That's all right.
Sorry.
No problem. Jody Stuhlman.
Jody Stillman. I'd like to discuss this weekend's happenings in town, and I would really like to understand why we do not have 24-hour coverage of our police department 7 days a week. I think we deserve that. I'm not saying that, yes, I had my car stolen. I got it received back to me today. I left my keys in it, that's my fault. But my garage is my personal space, and when they enter my garage, and I am home in the house, I have an issue with that. If I can't feel safe in my own home, then we have a problem. And I would really like to understand why and what we're going to do to have 24-hour police coverage.
Any comments? We need a 5th officer. We gotta have a 5th officer to have 24-hour coverage. It's just not possible with 4 full-time officers, for one thing.
And we just did a $21,000 cut from the police department.
How much?
$21,000.
Is a life worth $21,000? I'm serious. Somebody breaks into your home, you don't know who they are. If they have a gun, you don't know.
Okay, but I don't want to get into a big discussion, but we can't blame the police for criminals.
I'm not blaming the police for criminals. These people weren't even from our town.
I know, that's why we can't help. It's not the police's fault.
It's something
And
24-hour coverage couldn't even
I'm
possibly
not sure
prevent.
Right.
It happens in Iowa City, it
So I'm
happens
gonna-
in small town. I mean, it's something that couldn't even possibly be prevented with that kind of coverage,
Not
unfortunately.
getting it. All right, thank you.
Thanks, Jordan. All right, we're gonna move on. Item F, the consent agenda. I need a motion to approve the council meeting minutes from October 2nd, the last meeting. Approve the claims. A motion approving the purchase of a half-acre wetland mitigation bank credits. And approve the sanitary sewer rehabilitation phase 2 pay estimate number 2. So I need a motion to approve those items.
Motion.
Jordan will motion.
I'll second.
Mary Beth will second. Any discussion? Yes.
Pretty sure no, but there's 24,000 for the USGS. Is that model?
Yeah.
Yeah,
And so we're paying for it now. This is our first payment for it,
I think this might be the last.
or the last one. We have the model in our possession. We will after this.
It's darn close.
I don't know what the status of Pete probably can answer better than I.
Yeah, then we'll have Dave up to answer that if you want.
And Dave might help too.
You're up.
Pete Swisher, Superintendent for the National Park Service. So I, obviously the Park Service and the National Archives helped to fund that model, and you've received those funds from our agencies, and this should be, my understanding from recollection anyway of the agreement, this is the balance of that model. This was roughly a $70,000 model-ish, I think, and I did receive an email from Charlie at USGS. It sounds like they have moved that model on to publishing, which Mary Beth can tell us is a big step. So the model is complete. The stream team, I believe, have seen it. And
Yeah, we met 10 weeks ago or so and studied it briefly. And
yeah, so it's moved on to the publishing phase, and so it should be, if it's not already, it should be coming to the city. I don't want to speak for USGS, but my information is that it should be coming to the director. So.
Great.
And so this should be our last payment. And so then if we want to continue, we'll have to go and do another agreement with them.
for a stream study.
The gauging and
The
stuff.
gauging and everything.
Keep the gauging going.
If we want to keep it or not, or
Yeah.
remove or add gauges or whatever. Okay, so
Correct.
this is, take care of it.
Maybe
But
something
that'd be
we have to think
nice.
about.
And it all came out of the
Stormwater, I
stormwater.
believe.
We have plenty in there.
The one fund that looks.
We get about
good.
60,000.
The one that looks healthy?
Yeah, 60,000 a year we get, maybe.
All right, that's all I had on the claims.
Okay, wetland mitigation bank.
You gotta,
Pardon?
we'll have to take a vote.
Well,
That's
this
part of
is-
the, that's still part of the
Oh,
consent
Oh,
items.
okay.
So, bank credits became available.
Yes.
Good
So I
news.
guess we had several meetings where we were fretting over what to do because credits weren't available. Well, just so happens that they've been made available at the last moment. So we moved on pretty quickly. So the process has started. We just need to finalize it with the approval from the council, and we will.
That's an agreement with River Products,
Yeah.
it looks like.
They have a huge, I talked to them, I know them, dealt with them, so they're discouraged because they, at some points in time, they can't sell them even though people are trying to buy them. So there's a time frame that they, Core wouldn't allow them to sell them, so that's why they weren't available. Or a certain amount a year you can give out, so.
Well, we need to jump on it.
You do, because there's lots of other people who jump on it if we don't.
Okay. This will save us, this is great.
Yeah.
It is. Okay. Phase 2 pay estimate. Anyone comment on that? Sanitary sewer rehab.
It's our budgeted.
Yeah.
Nothing, no
Okay.
surprises, just paying for services already rendered.
Okay. Let's vote on that motion then, to approve. Go ahead. I looked at Tim.
You want me to take the
Councilperson Ellison?
Yes.
Stevenson?
Yes.
Shields?
Yes.
Pierce?
Yes.
Miller?
Yes.
All right, nice job. Item G, consent, non-consent agendas. Number 1, a motion approving a statement of direction regarding bonding obligation options. So, we have a motion. I guess I need a motion too, before we start talking.
So
Mary
moved.
Beth, will move, motion?
Which option? Does she have to?
Yeah, she had to say, what, are you
Oh.
going with these,
Oh, I'm
these
sorry.
staff's
The staff
recommendation?
recommendation of the 4.2.
Okay.
Option number 4. I need a second.
I'll second it.
Tim Shields will second. Okay, so we've been presented. We've talked about this before. Any final discussion before we vote? This is to get Covey Park built, to get the College Street Bridge funded,
Well, this finishes out our capital improvement.
finishes
plans.
out our CIP that we've got started already. We should do this. Let's vote, please.
Councilperson Stevenson?
Yes.
Shields?
Yes.
Ellison?
Yes.
Miller?
No.
Pierce?
Yes.
Item 2. Resolution 1653, approving the final plat of the Meadows subdivision part 2. I need a motion to approve the final plat.
So moved.
Tim Shields,
Second.
Mary Beth will second. Okay, this has been approved by P&Z. Any caveats? Dave Scheckinger, why don't you step up?
The final plat document looks acceptable. There are some items that remain to be constructed on site. They have some intake tops to put in, some erosion control seating, that sort of thing that needs to be done. There was a letter that was put together by their engineer, Glenn Meisner, that had an estimate of what that remaining balance was. Redmond, did you get that from Glenn? Was that distributed in the packet?
Okay. Yeah.
So there were a few things that we would probably add to that, and I would just make that a condition of the plat approval, that we need to make sure that we have an escrow that will cover the remaining improvements. That's pretty typical that we do that, and that way they can proceed with selling lots, get the document recorded and so forth.
Is that an escrow in the form of a bond, or is it, how is that?
They can either post a bond, an escrow, which would be, or a revocable letter of credit. There are different methods that we can do that.
Okay.
We did it on the previous phase as well, so I would suspect it would take the same form as what they had done on the phase 1 improvements.
Okay, a few caveats, sounds like we get worked out. We got a couple things to do. Any comment? Let's vote then. There's been a motion and a second to approve the final plat. Meadows, go ahead.
Councilperson Shields?
Yes.
Stevenson?
Yes.
Miller?
Yes.
Pierce?
Yes.
Ellison?
Yes.
All right, item 3, we have another change order. Every meeting. I need a motion approving a change order for Main Street water main improvements. Change order number 2.
I'm not motion on that one.
So moved.
I think we talked about this last time. We need a second.
Second.
Give me a second, Jordan. Was this $5,000, 5,100? Install a 10-inch storm sewer from intake. This just wasn't on the, go ahead, Dave.
So as we were constructing the water line, we encountered a storm sewer that was buried underneath the street and partially behind the back curb. It went to the top of the hill. We didn't find the end of it. I believe that the city crews just went to do some smoke testing and discover where it came from. Matt, were you able to?
We haven't done it yet. As soon as they get ready to dig that up to do that.
A smoke test?
Reconnection, we'll smoke test.
We continued to excavate, thinking we would be able to find where that went. It didn't appear that it was active, but we didn't want to plug it without knowing what it was. Going to put in a temporary outlet on the downhill side of it towards the end of the project, but there is still a small segment that had the intake at the intersection of 6th and Main that was connected to it, and that ran under the street and tied in blind to that box culvert that we had to bore underneath. So that part of it we have to replace, which is what the change order's for. The rest of it we've left out. They just tore it out as part of the water main construction, and it doesn't appear that it's active, but additional investigation will determine whether.
So there may be more coming, more additional costs?
This this outlet that we have planned, it's just basically an outflow. It's such a small pipe, and there's really no evidence of any flow in there, but we didn't want to have it plugged in case there was something minor in there. This would allow water to come out if there was flow and there's enough grade on the street, the water would flow and boil out, similar to what you see on a downspout on a house when you bury it in the yard and then it flows out. It would be the same principle. So I would just go onto the street and run down together. And that's the least cost repair method for that if it is active.
How come we have change order number 1 in front of us also?
Oh, I just threw it on there so you don't lose track of the change orders that come through.
We approved that last time.
Yeah.
Okay, we got a motion and a second to approve. Any other discussion? Let's vote then, please. Thanks, Dave.
Councilperson Stevenson?
Yes.
Ellison?
Yes.
Pierce?
Yes.
Shields?
Yes.
Miller?
Yes.
All right, item 4, discussion. Consideration to allow limited or exclusive muskrat trapping along with Wapsie Creek. This is because there's a little bit of a problem possibly.
So
Colton, go ahead.
Tell the story. I had a bunch of muskrats in the sewer lagoon. We did a lot of trapping, did some working on the sewer lagoon, repairing all the damage. Spent about 30 grand fixing a sewer lagoon. All the trapping that we did within the lagoon, we found that they were coming from the creek that runs adjacent to the lagoon through West Branch Village property. So what I'm proposing, so they don't tear my lagoon up anymore and they're doing damage to the creek and causing erosion problems there, that we would allow during trapping season, we would allow a hand-picked trapper that we trust to trap that area, and it's within the city limits. That's why we have to come here and see if it's okay. The trapper that we're been talking with would use a colony trap, which is a cage where it goes in and it doesn't come out. It doesn't snap and kill anything. It just holds it under the water till it drowns, basically. So what we're asking is for permission to let somebody trap that section during normal trapping season and follow all trapping laws.
Okay. Would this be official permission then to do that if we?
Well, this is just a discussion item,
Yeah.
but you can direct me to bring it back next council cycle for a move to action item.
It's disallowed as under a city ordinance now to trap?
No, I was just looking at that. I think it's allowed under state law, which is the season that you were talking about, correct?
Right.
So the DNR kind of likes you to have, the city sign off on these things before you.
Okay.
Is this the, so holding them underwater until they drown seems a little inhumane.
That was my first thought. I was like, yeah.
So I didn't, when you said that, when we spoke earlier, I didn't quite think it all the way through as to what exactly that meant, and I'm just wondering if there's some other more humane.
So the other way would be to snap them in the head with a big trap and hold them under the water until they drown.
But they don't die instantly.
Depends
It probably
on,
would that way.
if it gets their head, yes. If it gets a leg, no.
Yeah.
You gotta remember, this is just like a rat. I mean, it's muskrat.
Yeah. Right, but even when I kill mice in my home, I try to use the traps that get them instantly. So they're not, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, my concern, like we talked about earlier, Colton, was I was worried about dogs. I mean, I know they're not supposed to be off leash in that area, but still, I mean, it happens. Or I see kids playing in the creek too. So.
But that's still why this cage is the safe way to go. If it's a snap trap, it could get a cat or a dog or something like that.
That's why I'm a little bit torn. But
we got a trapping expert.
I can give you a little information. If you use colony traps, they're going to be, yes, it's going to hold them underwater, they're going to drown, that's when they die, that's how it works. If you use the other traps, they're going to be underwater too. It's for muskrats, they don't normally, I mean, usually set them underwater too, so. And anything like that, if you use conibears, you can have them use those. They're about that big around, like 4.5 inches across. They snap them, it usually hits them in the head, or hits them, knocks them out. They drown while they're knocked out. They don't. I don't know. I'm not a muskrat, but I assume they don't know. Otherwise, you can use foothold traps and it catches them and they fall in, and the trap holds them under. They drown anyway. So.
And you can't live trap muskrat.
I mean, live traps are not. You're just not going to catch a bunch with live traps, especially not muskrats.
How many are you thinking there are? 20?
There could be 100 of them. It's hard to tell. They travel up and down. It's just like the beaver. I mean, I trapped the beaver out of there when they built the dams because flooding issues. And those I use conibears, which they're always underwater. I put them in places where I have to walk in, water most of the way up to my chest, so nobody's getting in there to mess with those traps. So
Trapping's
either one
been
of
around.
those is fine. The colony traps, you can put them in front of a run and you can catch 8 or 9 of them in one trap in one night. I mean, it's like you can catch a bunch at once instead of one trap catching one at a time.
Is there a limit on how many you can do at once when you're in season?
No.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Thanks for the information.
I think it's fine. It's a pest situation.
I understand that.
Trapping's been around for quite a while.
My
1,000
stepdad
years.
is a trapper. I'm not like.
There's an exception for traps in here for pest control in the ordinance, so I would deem that.
Yeah.
Stuff like beavers and all that stuff that cause all that problem.
I just wanted to bring it to the attention. I didn't want to.
Thank you.
Just do it.
Just do it.
So we still need to approve it though. Or no?
By consensus, so we're gonna bring an
Oh,
ordinance.
okay.
You're gonna bring a resolution.
I can certainly bring a resolution.
Let's bring it back next time.
Okay.
You're not gonna do it
Resolution next
right.
time.
When's the season start?
November 1st.
Okay. So we got a meeting, yep.
All right. Let's move on, item 5. Parking, motion approving, need a motion to approve the final reading of an ordinance change number 69 of section 609, 69.08, no parking zones. So we've approved this twice. We talked about a limit last time. We eliminated that. I need a motion, please. I'm sorry.
So moved.
Beth wants a motion. Someone give me a second.
I'll second.
Jordan, a second. Okay. Any discussion?
I have a question. Since we're at our second, third reading of this, I would imagine every one of you went down there and looked at it and parked your car and seen how much space is there, right? Everybody done that? Yeah?
I haven't, but I was relying on our police chief and staff and their recommendations.
It's a pretty narrow road, and when you put 3 or 4 cars along that side, that narrows it up quite a bit. And then you try to pass 2 cars there with one. It's impossible.
And the police chief did recommend to not, my understanding, right? Is to not.
Recommended a 24-hour time limit,
yeah.
or a
It's nighttime.
I think
Ban.
the
5 a.m. to.
I think the gentleman that made a comment this evening makes a good point. I mean, our biggest discussion on it has been the plowing on that hill. You know, we've talked to Matt. He said it's a bear with no cars on there. I mean, when you start putting cars on there. Plowing, yeah. And then, you know, the gentleman spoke earlier. You know, I guess I didn't think about it, but I did go and drive. I didn't park, but I drove it, and it is narrow. If 2 cars coming, and if there's a parked car there, any kind of snow, and all of a sudden somebody's coming out at 6 a.m. in the morning from their workout, and they're out there, and the car sliding down because we allowed this park. I see both sides. You know, the last meeting where the resident came in and said, you know, we love it because we love more parking. I just don't want to limit it to just that time.
Right.
You know, I think I flipped because I think it is a danger, and the business that went in there knew when they went in there was a parking there. I mean, the sign was clearly there, and we're making a change. If we were going to widen the road, it'd be one thing, but it is narrow, and I think if you had a car parked there and you had 2 people, because it's two directions. If there's one way, it'd be different, but there's 2-way traffic there.
Would we consider? I mean, we can add it tonight too, I believe. Would we consider a time frame?
Seasonal? Would you? I mean, I don't know if that makes it any better, but I know you're. That being said, now you're picking apart. Like, okay, you can be there from 12:01 to 12:36 on Tuesdays in January. Like, you don't want to be.
So did you mean the nighttime parking ban, which is what we had originally had in the ordinance,
yes.
if I remember correctly? For the plowing.
The reason
Isn't that
for
what
this
we
whole
had?
thing is
We took that out.
we have cars parking there because there's a business there's a workout. They're there from 5 in the morning till, I don't know, 6 or 7 in the evening. They can be. That's when their groups work out. Would we consider maybe the midnight to 5 ban? Midnight to 5 ban?
And then we removed that, right?
We did.
We talked about it last time.
Because the resident
the chief
was
recommended that
not
kind of.
in favor of it, right? The resident who visited us
Yeah.
last
Correct.
week was not in favor of the overnight parking
No,
ban.
if you were going to do it, he didn't want to have a band on it.
Right.
Well, we got to come up with a compromise or
Fix it.
Yeah.
well, we got, you're a no, he's a no, probably.
I think at the end of the day, it's a misuse of the building. I mean, it'd be like going down there and running a McDonald's out of there. It's just, it doesn't make, I mean, it's not what the building was for. It's not what the property use was for. And to start making a parking lot out of our streets to accommodate this business, it's not safe and reasonable.
She's struggled to find places. She couldn't, she's been up on the hill. She's was somewhere else at first.
I'm not trying to discourage businesses.
I know.
Me neither.
I know.
That's not what we're saying, but you're throwing a business in an industrial park that's not really. It's,
But weren't we also hearing from residents who were saying there's not enough adequate parking for the
When they have
residences.
guests,
And so
yeah.
when they have
We heard
guests,
that.
they
Yes, we did.
require street parking.
So that's why
And-
we felt good about voting yes for it.
Exactly.
First two
That's-
times.
That was
I mean,
the
in all
majority of
honesty,
what we
this
heard
is the
was
first-
that,
yeah.
that there was
They needed some
infighting
parking.
for parking in that area and they needed it.
Right.
But then causes a problem, so when does the resident feel like, wait a minute, I live here, but yet you guys are taking up my parking space?
They're already doing that.
Right.
They're already having that fight.
Can't please everybody.
I get that.
All goes back to that road that
Yeah,
that we've had issues with before.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so, where are we at then? We either move ahead and vote, see what
Do
happens?
we want to hear from any staff if they have any other opinions to add, or
I mean, was it?
Chief, one last thing to say?
not to put you on the spot?
He's like, man, it's
And
really
Rely
Matt-
on you heavily.
This is great about, this is so good about the legislative process, but because we do have some valid concerns. And I felt very comfortable with my original plan of not allowing overnight parking, but I understand why they didn't allow it. And the reason I suggested that was for snow removal. You know. And it is tough going up the hill, and then, you know, that could be covered with snow and go up to a stop sign.
Okay.
But, you know, I appreciate the citizens' points of view. When I proposed this, it was with the idea of mine also to help the residents of Northridge. It wasn't to bring in undue hardship on them, because what was happening was parking's already an issue there. Now all of a sudden you move more parking in. So, anyway, I still think we should move forward with it.
What did you propose last time? No parking midnight to 6 or something like that? 2 to 6?
2 to 6. Actually, I think it's 2 to 5. There's no overnight parking, and my thought was that it would give the options for snow removal and also prevent people from using that area as a parking,
Storage.
long-term parking place. So.
Okay, let's put that back on the table then.
So then also, another point is that Lynch had a concern that he's in the business of renting storage units, and if you can store your cars out on the street, then that might be hurting his business also.
So a 2 to 5 limit.
But
You couldn't store your
X'd
car.
that. You X'd that
We
though.
can put it back in.
But you can't take stuff in and put it back in and read the same. You're not having the same 3 readings.
Yeah, but you can amend it at every time if you wanted to. Doesn't mean you.
Doesn't matter. I'm not going to change my vote.
I was just pulling that chapter back up again to go back to what we had. If that's
Maybe it might be good to ask Matt Goodell.
You came up on the mess rats, you might as well jump in.
Thanks, Chief. Matt, come on up.
Yes, that area is not the greatest area to plow already, and it is an issue when it snows. I don't care either way. I mean, it's going to be difficult whether there's cars there or not. It's difficult from there to the bottom corner, well, actually all the way around, because we can only plow one direction.
Yeah, okay.
So it is difficult, and it's, I mean, when it's slick, people do have issues getting up that hill, and you go out there and see tracks where they went back and forth all the way up, but whether we got sand on it or not, it's just how it works. So.
Yeah.
But again, it doesn't matter to me either way. It's going to be, it's not going to be that much harder to plow with cars there or without cars there. There's a better chance of hitting something going down that hill with cars parked on that side, because that's typically, when we're going down that hill, sometimes we use that curve as a slow down. So, I mean, same thing on your street.
I was just
We
going
go
to
up
ask,
against
what's the
curve.
difference between Fifth and this particular one?
It's
Hilltop.
I mean,
Hilltop's the same thing.
yeah,
It's super steep, and
yeah,
it's-
yours is steep. I mean, Fifth
we have
Street's
parking
steeper
on it.
than this, but it's a similar type deal. We have the curb and drag our blade on it to so it's down.
Yeah.
And it snows other times between 2 and 6. So I mean, you know, you have to plow it all the time, not just.
There's no time,
There's no ban on parking on my
Unless
street.
there's no, on any of these streets that two cars don't fit down. The middle school entrance is a key example of how dangerous that is.
And actually, I mean, we just plow whenever. It used to be like 4 to 8, 4 a.m. to 8 p.m. That got changed a couple years ago, so now it's whenever we get inch and a half, depending on how much they're saying, we start. So it could be 8 o'clock at night, it could be middle of the night, middle of the day. It just
whenever it snows.
Yeah. So, like I said, it doesn't matter to me. Go however you want, but that's
the information.
What about the fire? You get a fire truck through there, no problems?
I spoke to Colton about this, but it's not gonna bother us a bit. I mean, we've got narrow streets with parking on one side all over the town, and it's not gonna affect us any. You know, I mean, even when you get up around the curve, you got parking on one side anyway, around the loop, so that's not gonna affect us any.
I just didn't want you to feel bad we didn't ask you.
Don't feel left out.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second to approve as is. If the motion wants to stick with it, we will vote.
I will stick with my
Okay.
my original motion.
I would prefer the no overnight added back to it personally.
Okay. With Tim?
So do we have the motion, is the motion to say as is?
No.
So far, yeah.
The
Okay.
motion was to stay as is,
Okay.
and I guess I'm curious if others would need the parking, the overnight ban to approve it. I mean, from what I'm hearing, it doesn't seem like it's essential to keep the overnight parking ban in place, but from the staff perspective at least.
So is there a second to the as-is motion?
Yeah.
Okay, she's got a second.
Yeah, but I don't want it to fail, so if
Yeah.
somebody's gonna.
I mean, I guess I'm just saying, like, looking at the streets all over the city and the no price, it's not gonna make a difference.
Right.
It's not. How narrow the streets
So
are
you
all over
support it
town.
as is?
Yeah, I mean, really, it doesn't make a difference.
Colton, I know Tim's maybe changing.
I doubt it.
It's fine.
I don't know.
Okay.
Let's
Let's vote.
We got 30 seconds to
30. As is written now.
Let's go with it.
Okay.
Vote, please.
Councilperson Stevenson.
Yes.
Ellison.
Yes.
Pierce.
No.
Shields.
No.
Miller.
No.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh well.
All right.
So now
So-
you have to bring it back as a different thing.
All right.
Because and the overnight is what killed it for you guys,
For me.
Tim? Okay. All right, I
Why
was just
didn't we
curious.
just change it? We should have
No, it's
should have
fine.
modified it.
It's irrelevant now. I mean,
Take it out.
Move on.
It's
Yeah.
whatever.
I
No
was
hard
trying.
feelings.
I get started.
I tried.
If the business, yeah.
All right, we're gonna move on. No parking still. All right. Item 6, a discussion item, consider contracting services to develop an RFP for the Kroll site. This was my idea. We have this piece of property we're going to get. It needs development. We need to ask developers, we need to invite developers to give us their best shot. And we're gonna have a tough choice to make whether to, you know, what design. There's gonna be a lot of interesting proposals, I hope. So I've chatted with, he's an Iowa State professor of landscape architecture. He's lives in Cedar Rapids. He writes RFPs. He said he would like to help us, $3,000 to $5,000. I know Redmond's written
A draft.
a draft.
Yeah.
I've read through it. I don't know RFP, so it's not my thing. I don't know. We need help writing this RFP, I think.
For $5,000.
Would you do it for 2?
He would meet with us.
Yeah,
He would meet with us,
pro bono.
maybe a work session. We would lay out our goals, what we're looking for. maybe before a council meeting, once again. He needs input from us.
Who did you say it was? A developer, did you say?
No, he's a landscape architect.
Oh, in
professor.
LA, okay, gotcha.
I've just met him a couple of times, we chatted about it.
I don't think it's necessary.
Okay, we need help writing this RFP, I think.
Could we do a work session just with staff and
We could make some decisions, yes, on ideas and what we're looking for. For instance, a trail, we want parking, we want
I guess that's my question is.
residential, we want commercial.
So you want assistance on creating a vision for this area, not just in writing an RFP? I mean, what
No,
you're asking for is
the vision's
bigger.
not my hard part. I got a vision for the area. It's getting it officially, getting it developers invited here.
Don't take this wrong, but I don't want your vision. I want
know.
everybody's
I
vision
know.
put together. I mean, so that's why I don't want to give a vision and say, okay, you got to make this happen.
That's why he needs to meet with all of us.
I want each developer to come up with their own vision. I mean, we can set up a couple parameters. That's how we're going to get the best end product.
That was kind
Okay,
of where I
the
was.
parameters is what I'm getting at. We need to set the parameters, which shouldn't be that hard.
I don't think so.
That's all I'm
We don't need
getting
to pay
at.
somebody to set those.
No. Might take some
But it's taking
discussion.
that next step. The next step to get it out there, get it published, get it, see, we've never done this before.
There you go.
We did it poorly, but we have.
I can help too. I've done a couple in Coralville,
A couple.
that Old Town and Briskies and.
Hey, we got
Some
that.
small things.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I can, I mean.
I think we should look in-house before we start.
Right,
I think
let's,
so too.
let's
Yeah.
discuss it internally if we.
All right, good discussion.
If there's some
Anything
gaps and we feel like we need
Not like I like
assistance,
no more work, but we can make it happen.
Kevin, you
know.
up, you up for donating,
A couple work
committing
sessions.
some time.
I think so.
I was
Committing
saying,
some time.
I'm flat fee, so you can commit as much as you
I
want.
know it.
Okay,
Yeah,
sold.
so I'll help
You know
meet with
some
you
of the
guys.
steps in the process to
Yeah, I mean,
to get our parameters.
yeah, we'll start with an outline, let you guys start. You know, I think I know what, we were looking for developers to bring their idea, and then you guys can set parameters there, like you're not gonna do this or not, you know. But we've had luck with having different development proposals that are far different than each other, so you have something to look at.
And no V&K's written RFPs also. Correct.
John Fuller had brought this up at a P&Z meeting a while back. Our current code is a little bit rigid with respect to
Oh, yeah.
what could potentially be developed
Yeah,
on
we
there.
can
We
work.
talked about form-based code. I'm not sure where that stands, but that's something that P&Z was promoting in order to be able to allow some creativity with that.
Mhm.
We may want to have some discussion with P&Z before we go too far forward, just to make sure that we capture the ability to be flexible with that.
We have allowance for planned unit developments in our code, don't we?
We have
Yeah.
allowed for planned unit development, but you still have the underlying zoning requirements that you have to adhere to for setbacks.
Okay,
from
we need to work.
parking and that sort of thing.
You can vary those with the planning development set up right.
Right, if that was set up right in the form-based code, would give you even more flexibility.
That's what we need help with. Is that something you can?
Well, that's usually what I always develop with, because the city has more control over the underlying zoning,
Should we do like a joint work session with P&Z or something along those lines?
John had some ideas. When I talked to him after a couple meetings ago, he had brought up some ideas like Dave talked to me.
Because our zoning code is ours, it's not like a set code, right? for
Yeah,
zoning.
it's the city's,
ours.
yeah.
So we can change setbacks, we can do whatever, I mean, kind of.
Well, within pseudos.
Which it's kind of like a give and take.
You have to go through and revise the ordinance to change it.
Yeah.
So you have a public hearing and 3 readings, there's a process there. If we need to get all that front work done before we
Yeah.
put this out, we need to make sure we get
We have to
everything.
do all of that for a planned unit development. It's like an overlay. It encompasses.
It depends on what you want to do there.
Yeah.
Yeah, a developer's not gonna wanna throw an idea out if it's not even feasible.
Okay, I want to be flexible.
I think it would warrant some discussion with P&Z and make sure that we have this set up so that we can have the ability to create something down there that fits everybody's vision.
Okay.
What's the current zoning? Is it just
Industrial.
industrial?
Yeah.
So it needs to be
It's
changed
not gonna be that.
regardless.
Industrial.
Yeah, that'll take
I
some
think
time to get the
The grain
correct.
bins are probably ag.
We don't, yeah.
It's messy.
We had the discussion the other
It's a messy
day.
location.
They're in an ag zone.
Yeah, which is why we had that hearing with the bridge project.
Okay, good discussion. Good talk, son. All right, item H, city administrators reports.
Pass those around. There you go. Yeah, some extra ones here.
One page.
Got Ray, anyone else? One, don't go All right. So, to start off, wanted to give a little update on our wastewater task group. We've had our first meeting. I thought it was pretty good for a first meeting. We actually got a chance to talk about a technology known as Living Machine, which is not a tool in Terminator 3. It's actually a process that utilizes natural elements to create clean wastewater that in some cases are even used as a park. So that was very interesting. We also got a short list on some tours we want to do of some existing facilities that we're working through, and got a pretty energetic group. So we're off to the races. As you know, we got a little bit of a timetable that we have to meet, and our goal is to have at least a process that we can present to the entire council for budget. So we can at least start the discussion about who we're going to bring in to start the design process, which we obviously have to budget for this budget cycle. So probably everybody interested on the resurfacing of 290. So there is at least local access for emergencies and residents of 290 up to 334. I believe that's east of 360, west of the bridge, so they say. So at least that it seems like it's moving along pretty quick. I hope that made sense. I'm reading this from what they said, so I have no idea where the bridge is or the 360, but if you have any questions, the Cedar County Road Department supposedly has all your answers. So give them a call, 563-886-6102. I'm sure that they'll be able to meet your needs. Also, we had some dignitary in town. The governor of the great state of Iowa was visiting one of our community assets, Scattergood, and Scattergood officials invited city council to come, and we had a good showing. Come out to see some of the sustainability activities that they're doing there on campus, and meet up their governor. So that was very impressive. They had some students that had done a project that got an opportunity to present that project directly to the governor of the state. How cool is that? And see some of the other things that they're doing there on campus. So good things happening there. I think there was some addressing of this issue, but I just wanted to at least update the public a little bit about the rash of break-ins. There apparently seem to be juvenile related. At least 2 of them potentially may have been detained. We recovered obviously a vehicle that had some suspects in them. So unless if you believe you just found a car and you fell asleep in it, probably a good idea that they might be related. But I think it it raises questions that I think we can take on in the budget cycle on how much coverage. I think that we have to be careful not to say coverage versus patrol, because we have coverage with our 28 degrees and mutual aid. We have coverage. If there's a call, you will get service, and we have our people on call. It's just a question of do we want to have service of having a patrol 24 hours, 7 days a week, and that does come with tax dollars. So we talked about how responsible we've been with our tax dollars, and this is just one of those values that councils and communities work through, and if we value that, then we'll do it. But something that we can certainly talk about in the budget process. There's other good things, I guess, going on with the county and their efforts to pursue Iowa Great Places visioning planning process, as well as their comprehensive planning process. And there's several meetings around the county that's going on. We've had ours already, and it was a great turnout, and from my understanding, they've got good information. So that process is continuing. And goal setting, that kind of just transitioned into. I have a couple dates staff and I have come up with, and wanted to present you with those dates and see if I can get some consensus. So Monday, I think there might be a previous practice of doing it on Mondays, the Monday off from the council meeting. So Monday, November 13th is one of those Mondays. Saturday, the 18th. I've always been used to Saturdays, and I was told the same thing when I broached the topic. So this is kind of like, let's just make the manager happy and just throw that date in there, even though we know it doesn't have a snowball's chance. And but then we have another Monday on the 27th. So the Mondays, I think, would be around the same time we would do council, maybe from 6 or a little earlier, 7.
Oh, before council meeting?
Normally, that we would normally do at council meeting. These are Mondays that the council meetings aren't.
Yeah, I want it on an off date.
Isn't the 27th the concert?
After a meeting?
We do, we usually link them
Yeah.
as a work session.
Yeah.
Yeah.
After a short meeting?
After whatever.
So they happen like 10 o'clock.
Yeah, I think
or
that-
before, or whatever.
I mean, if it got too late, we rescheduled it, but
yeah,
like if it was ending at 9, we would still do it.
I prefer sooner rather than later. The 27th's getting kind of late.
I think the 27th is one of the concerts, the school concerts.
I suppose the Bears will
Which
be
I
in the
can never see
playoffs also.
the children chorus anyway, because our.
But their games are on Fridays.
They're all on. No, they remember they went to 2 playoff teams, so they're on Fridays every night. Next year they're going back to 4, I heard. So
There's potential for Saturday too, I thought, this year.
depends on when the if they got to the semifinals.
So it won't interfere with our Monday. Okay. Do you need a decision
So,
now?
yeah, if you could.
13th.
I think that is the first and second grade concert. Maybe somebody knows.
27th?
I believe it is.
Anybody know of a concert on the 27th?
Let me check me.
It was just in the Friday folder. I'm pretty sure it was the 27th.
Okay, so 27th's maybe out.
And I cannot be there on the 13th either on a Monday night.
Ooh.
Sorry. And I would like to.
Saturday.
Saturday.
No, that's at home.
Why wouldn't we just do it after the next meeting?
That's fine with me.
We can't do it on the, I won't be here on the 2nd November meeting though.
The 20th?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
So the 6th?
6th?
Yeah.
That's fine.
We're not meeting the 30th then, are we?
Eh?
October.
No, we only have 2 meetings a month.
Okay, November 6th?
But that would maybe work.
What?
October 30th?
October 30th.
That's Halloween, is
No,
it?
it's not.
Day before.
Right.
Right.
Obviously, his kids have been gone for a while.
I'm an empty nester.
I think we
Just stop by
tack it on the
the
back.
He gives candy out every night.
Let's tack it on the back of the November
Okay.
6th.
Okay.
November 6th?
All right.
Let's get a short agenda for that day.
Yeah.
That's the goal, Roman.
That's the goal. All right.
Short agenda.
I got nothing.
Right.
Okay. So, only other thing was schedule dates, and ICMA is next week, October 22nd
Yeah.
through the 25th. That is next week.
No,
no.
it's San Antonio, right?
San Antonio.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. All my city administrators are gone next week. So.
Oh, okay. I thought you were going too or something.
Oh no. I just know they're all gone.
Yeah, I still have.
You're going to San Antonio?
San Antonio, yeah. Is there a good place to eat or something?
No,
There's not a bad place.
That's a nice perk.
Oh, so, but then also, I look forward to November 1st, where I'll be addressing the Lions Club for 20 minutes of
I should go to that
city
meeting also.
vision talk stuff. So,
That's fun.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I get dinner out of that.
Set up a PDF.
Pancakes.
I mean, a PowerPoint.
Oh,
Let's do that.
they like PowerPoints?
Yeah.
Okay.
I
can
sign
do
up
that.
to work at a concession stand.
All right.
That's it.
Anything else from Brandon? Nice. Attorney's report?
I have not forgotten that the chicken ordinance will be coming. I'm gonna work with Melissa and get something back to you.
Awesome.
So before you leave,
Okay.
You would get one reading at least.
no.
Or maybe
Doing any
two.
work on TIF certification.
We gotta get with
For
Maggie
us.
to make sure we.
I don't
get
know why,
that
it
done.
just worries me.
We'll get that done here. I'll work
Okay.
with Maggie and Gordon. We've already kind of talked about last
We
meeting
got
too.
phone conversation tomorrow, actually. So.
Brush up on your RFP skills.
Oh, I got that big if you want.
Okay, any other staff reports? Council, mayors, comments? I have one thing I want to bring up. Hoover Hometown Days planning is starting. I want to get the foundation, a representative of the foundation here. Any objection from you folks?
Let's see. It is.
A representative.
It needs, I think it needs to be clarified who it is.
Brad. I just want to,
Bill
Okay.
Bridges.
okay, that's all I need to know. Anything else?
Yes, I attended the 911 EMA Crime Stoppers meetings. 3 hours of fun, guys. That's very good. I do have I have some questions. This plat that we approved tonight, what happens with it? Where does it go from here?
Here's what we do. We take 3 copies of it down to the county, and they distribute it to their departments. And if I remember correctly, the last time we did one of the Meadows ones, that it never showed up on the EM 911 map, if I remember correctly from the first one. So, well, it's supposed to do that. That's the county's job to do that. So we bring 3 copies down to the county, and they keep 3 copies of the final plat to distribute to their departments.
Okay, so one of the things that we talked about on Thursday night, and there's a bunch of acronyms. They throw a whole bunch of them at you guys, and I'm gonna sound like an idiot because I don't understand all of them, but this GIS, and then there's this other one called MapQuar or something like that, and it's 2 different versions of the 911 mapping. So the GIS part, they're getting that done real well, but the other one is like the old school one, but some people still use it, so they have to
Some people.
they have to enter it.
Such as cities?
Some cities, some
Fire departments?
Yeah, some of them still use this one leg of it. So we're having problems getting that part done. The guy that works for the county doesn't know how to do it. So, and now he refuses to do it. So we fired him and we hired some other guy to do it. And they told me I needed to tell everybody.
You didn't fire the GIS guy.
Yeah.
Really? The
No,
Cedar County GIS guy got fired?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Well, we quit budgeting him money. We hired
It's
a-
only $5,000 bucks.
Yeah, we give it to a.
He's still got it. he's his own department now.
Right,
County.
we just don't give him any money.
Okay.
The 911 EMS does not give him any money.
Right, right.
Okay, because he
'Cause he
didn't understand how to.
Right.
That was the
how
problem
Malott
last
wanted
time.
it.
Right.
Is it was
So,
Matt
we-
went around and around with that guy.
So we hired somebody, some Geocom or something like that.
Geocom, that's
And they were $4,500. So originally we were gonna hire both of them to do the same job, but the one guy wasn't gonna do it. But then we decided we just weren't gonna hire him. We were gonna hire the other guy.
So Geocom can do it better probably than
Yeah.
GIS guy.
But one of the things I wanted to
I've
make
been
sure,
doing it anyway.
Say that again.
Geocom's the ones that's been doing
they-
it.
That's
they've
right.
been doing it anyway.
That's right. So they should keep doing
We
it.
just need to make sure it gets done when we.
Yeah, and that's why I'm bringing it up, is to make sure that we have a procedure that these plats are getting there in a timely fashion.
We've the developers will want them down there. We got the Lynch one down there as soon as their engineers got all the utilities signed off on. So, who does them? You guys do the who does the addressing?
EMS.
Okay, somebody in the city does that. So we just got to make sure that
I did all that.
so when we bring that down, we'll bring a memo down to say here are the addresses to make sure that you match the lots up with that.
That goes to the auditor or the
The
recorder?
the recorder takes everything, but we can but they're supposed to distribute. That's why we leave
To
three
the
copies.
assessor?
The assessor, the auditor. I don't know where the third one goes. Probably the GIS people, because the GIS system on here works pretty. You can usually find it pretty well.
Yeah.
And I was just, they expressed that we used to be real bad at it until.
Yeah, I agree.
Until Mac took over.
Yeah.
And he came up with a process, and I just wanted to make sure that we're still doing that process, and that process didn't leave with that.
No, we got the legal papers from the developer before tonight, so they got everything done beforehand. So as soon as the plat's been approved, engineer gets all utility companies to sign off on the plat, and we take it down. So it should be done week to 2, depending on how fast the utility companies bring the plat. We have them already.
We got 'em today.
It got even better than the last one already, so we can take them down this week. I'll run over there with them, and we'll make a memo up with the addresses on that match the lot. So, all right, she's got everything done. Shouldn't even be.
Sounds good.
And I brought back copies of those agendas. They're in there. You guys can read the whole meeting if you'd like.
Thanks for attending that meeting for me. Also at that meeting, West Branch Fire Department got a little boat, correct?
Yes.
Housing a boat.
We're gonna house the boat. They didn't pay for it. The sheriff may pay the insurance, correct?
For water rescue or
For
something?
water rescues. It's been sitting in Tipton doing nothing. And our fire department wanted to train with it, so.
Great.
And I'm going to tell you this, I was very impressed with, what was that kid's name that went with us? Josh Worrell. They asked what happens if Iowa City calls and wants to use the boat, and his response was, if they call us, we're coming. Just that simple. Doesn't matter who calls us. They
It's
need
not a turf war,
Yep.
it's a
If
save
they-
a lifetime.
If they call us, we're coming. So I was very impressed with his answers.
All right, anybody else? Motion to adjourn, anyone?
Sure.
That's your spot. Pierce seconds. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.